Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the stars drift past the main screen of the UES Defiance. The ship had been flying through empty space for 3 weeks now, searching for new worlds that humans could call home. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lisa Park from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, and her job was to listen for any signals from space. "There are energy readings coming from the Kepler 442 system. Really big ones." Jake turned his chair toward her. "What kind of energy readings?" Lisa frowned at her screens. "I've never seen anything like this before. The power levels are off the charts, and there's something else." She put the sound through the ship's speakers. Strange voices filled the bridge, speaking in languages no human had ever heard. "Those are definitely not human voices," said Dr. Alan Rodriguez, the ship's science officer. He was already running scans on his equipment. "Captain, whatever is happening in that system, it involves technology far beyond anything we have." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity had been exploring space for 50 years, and they had never found any signs of alien life. Now, it seemed like they had stumbled across something big. "Ben, how long to reach the system?" Jake asked his chief engineer. Ben Cooper looked up from his console. "At current speed, about 6 hours, sir." "Take us there, but keep us at the edge of the system. I want to see what we're dealing with before we get too close." The next few hours felt like days. The crew worked quietly, each person knowing that they might be about to make the most important discovery in human history. As they got closer to the Kepler 442 system, the energy readings grew stronger. "My God," whispered Dr. Rodriguez as the first images came through. "Captain, you need to see this." The main screen showed a battle unlike anything humans had ever imagined. Massive ships, some as large as moons, were firing weapons that lit up space like miniature suns. Beams of energy tore through the darkness. An explosion sent shockwaves across millions of miles. "There are 3 different groups fighting," Lisa reported. "I'm trying to figure out their communication patterns, but their technology is so advanced that my equipment can barely keep up." Jake stared at the screen in amazement. One group of ships looked like they were made of crystal, shining with their own inner light. Another group had ships that seemed to be alive, twisting and changing shape as they moved. The third group was the strangest of all. Their ships seemed to fade in and out of reality, as if they existed in more than one dimension at the same time. "Captain," said Ben, his voice shaking, "the power output from just one of those ships is more than our entire planet produces in a year. Are we safe at this distance?" Jake asked. "For now," Ben replied, "but if they notice us ... as if summoned." By his words, several of the alien ships suddenly turned toward the Defiance. Energy readings spiked across the board. "They've detected us," Lisa said, her hands flying over her controls. "All 3 groups are sending signals in our direction." "What kind of signals?" "I think they're trying to communicate, but the translations don't make sense. Each group seems to think we belong to one of their enemies." Jake's blood ran cold. "You mean they think we're part of this war?" "That's exactly what I mean," Lisa said. Before Jake could respond, the nearest group of crystal ships fired a warning shot. A beam of pure energy passed close enough to the Defiance that the ship's hull heated up from the radiation. "Shields up," Jake ordered. "Ben, how fast can we get out of here?" "Working on it, sir, but our engines aren't designed for this kind of speed." Another energy beam flashed past them, this one even closer. Alarms began ringing throughout the ship. "Captain, the living ships are moving to surround us," Dr. Rodriguez reported. "And the shadow ships are doing something to space itself. I'm reading gravitational distortions." Jake made a decision that would change humanity's future forever. "All power to engines. Get us out of here now." The Defiance shot forward like a bullet, racing away from the battle. Behind them, the alien ships gave chase, but they seemed more interested in fighting each other than pursuing one small human vessel. As they fled, Ben managed to record everything his scanners could detect. "I'm getting readings on their technology, Captain," Some of it might be useful if we can figure out how it works. Good thinking, Jake said. We need to learn everything we can about these aliens. It took 2 hours of running at maximum speed before they finally escaped the alien ships. The crew sat in stunned silence, trying to process what they had just witnessed. How long do you think they've been fighting? Lisa asked. Dr. Rodriguez checked his readings. Based on the damage patterns I saw, this war has been going on for thousands of years. Maybe longer. And now they think we're part of it, Jake said. Grimly, he activated the ship's communication system. This is Captain Morrison to Earth Command. Priority Alpha message. We have discovered alien life and we have a problem. The message would take weeks to reach Earth, but Jake knew that when it did, everything would change. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had just made enemies of 3 powerful alien civilizations without even trying. Over the next few days, as the Defiance made its way back toward human space, the crew worked around the clock. To analyze what they had seen, Dr. Rodriguez studied the energy patterns of the alien weapons, then examined their ship designs and propulsion systems. Lisa tried to decode their languages and communication methods. What they learned was both fascinating and terrifying. The 3 alien groups were incredibly advanced, with technology that seemed like magic compared to human science. They could manipulate matter at the atomic level, bend space and time, and create weapons that could destroy entire planets. But there was something else. Something that gave Jake a small amount of hope. Captain, Dr. Rodriguez said during one of their analysis sessions, I've been studying the battle patterns of these aliens. They're powerful, but they're also predictable. They've been fighting the same way for so long that they've become set in their methods. What do you mean? Jake asked. I mean, they might be advanced, but they're not creative. They use the same tactics over and over again. A human commander might be able to surprise them. Ben nodded in agreement. Their technology is incredible, but it's also specialized. Our equipment is more flexible. We might be able to adapt their technology in ways they never thought of. Jake felt a spark of hope. Humanity might be outgunned, but they weren't helpless. They had something the aliens seemed to lack, the ability to think outside the box. As the Defiance continued its journey home, Jake knew that humanity was about to face its greatest challenge. 3 alien civilizations, each more powerful than anything humans had ever imagined, now saw them as enemies. War was coming, whether humanity wanted it or not, but humans had always been good at surviving against impossible odds. They had creativity, determination, and the ability to adapt to any situation. Maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. The stars ahead looked different now. They were no longer empty points of light in the darkness. They were homes to ancient beings with the power to destroy worlds. But they were also opportunities for humanity to prove that sometimes the smallest player could change the entire game. Jake Morrison didn't know it yet, but he had just set in motion events that would reshape the galaxy forever. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface, staring at the holographic display that showed humanity's colonies scattered across nearby star systems. Red warning lights blinked on half of them. In just 3 weeks, since Captain Morrison's message had arrived, everything had changed. The attack on Proxima Station started an hour ago, reported General Rick Hayes, his face grim. Sam Blake is evacuating as many people as he can, but those living ships are moving too fast. Kate watched the tactical display as tiny dots representing alien vessels swarmed around the human colony. The Nethic Collective had found them first, and their bioships moved like hungry predators closing in on prey. What about the other colonies? Kate asked. New Terra is under attack by the crystal ships. The Zephyrians are using some kind of energy weapon that turns rock into glass. Colony Director Helen Gray says they have maybe 6 hours before the planetary shields fail. Kate felt sick. Humanity had spent 50 years building these colonies, and now they were all in danger. The aliens didn't care that humans were not part of their ancient war. To them, any unknown species was an enemy to be destroyed. Ma'am, called Dr. Patricia Wells from across the room. I have an update on the technology analysis. Patricia had been working non-stop since Morrison's data arrived, trying to understand how alien technology worked. She looked tired, but there was excitement in her eyes. "We've made a breakthrough," Patricia said, pulling up new displays. "The alien computer systems are incredibly advanced, but they're also very specialized. They're designed to do specific tasks and nothing else. What does that mean for us?" Kate asked. "It means we might be able to confuse them. Our quantum computers are more flexible. Engineer Sophie Carter has been working on a way to interface our systems with theirs." Sophie stepped forward, holding a small device that looked like a cross between a computer chip and a piece of alien technology. "This is a translator interface. If we can get close enough to an alien ship, we might be able to hack into their systems." General Hayes shook his head. "That's a big if. How do we get close enough to ships that can destroy us from 1,000 miles away?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Morrison's voice crackled through the communication system as the UES Defiance returned to Earth's solar system. "Earth Command, this is Morrison. I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." An hour later, Morrison stood in the war room, explaining his plan to the assembled leaders of humanity's military and scientific community. "We can't fight them with brute force," Morrison said. "But we don't have to. These aliens have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They expect certain kinds of attacks and defenses. We give them something completely different." He activated a holographic display showing the battle he had witnessed. "Watch how they fight. The crystal ships always attack from the front. The bio ships swarm in predictable patterns. The shadow ships use the same dimensional tricks over and over again." Dr. Patricia Wells nodded. "They're trapped by their own success. Their technology is so advanced that they've forgotten how to innovate." "Exactly," Morrison said. "So we don't try to build better weapons. We build different weapons. We use their own technology against them in ways they never imagined." The plan was dangerous and desperate, but it was the only chance humanity had. Within days, every shipyard in human space was working around the clock to modify existing vessels with Sophie's interface technology. The first test came at Proxima Station, where Sam Blake was still fighting a losing battle against the Nethic swarm ships. The colony's defenses were failing, and evacuation ships were under constant attack. Commander Maria Santos led the counterattack in the modified cruiser UES Freedom. Her ship looked the same from the outside, but inside, Sophie's quantum interfaces had been connected to every major system. "Approaching the swarm," Maria reported as her ship flew straight into the mass of alien vessels. "Sophie, are you ready?" Sophie Carter sat at her modified console, her hands dancing over controls that merged human and alien technology. "Ready as I'll ever be, initiating contact with the lead bioship." What happened next surprised everyone, including the aliens. As Sophie's quantum computer connected with the Nethic vessel's nervous system, she found that she could read its thoughts. The bioship was confused by this new sensation, unsure how to respond to an outside mind touching its consciousness. "I'm in," Sophie said, sweat beading on her forehead. "These ships are alive, but they're also connected to each other like a hive mind. If I can disrupt their communication..." She sent a cascade of conflicting orders through the bioship's nervous system. The creature began attacking its own allies, confused by the contradictory signals flooding its brain. Within minutes, the entire swarm was fighting itself instead of the human colony. "It's working," Sam Blake reported from Proxima Station. "The aliens are retreating. Whatever you did, it saved us." The victory was small, but it proved that humanity could fight back. More importantly, it showed that human creativity could overcome alien technology. Dr. Wells immediately began analyzing the battle data. "The key is adaptability," she explained to the assembled scientists and engineers. "The aliens have such advanced technology that they've become dependent on it. They can't think outside their programmed responses." General Hayes saw the opportunity. "We need to hit them everywhere at once before they can adapt to our new tactics." The next phase of the plan was even more ambitious. Instead of defending, Human colonies? They would take the fight to the aliens themselves. Captain Morrison volunteered to lead the most dangerous mission. His target was a Zephyrian battle fleet that was moving toward Earth. The crystal ships were the most heavily armed of the three alien factions, and their energy weapons could crack planets. Morrison's ship, the Defiance, had been completely rebuilt with hybrid technology. Human engineering combined with alien power systems created something that had never existed before. The ship could phase between dimensions like the shadow ships, but it could also think and adapt like a human crew. Remember, Morrison told his crew as they approached the alien fleet, we're not trying to destroy them, we're trying to turn them against each other. The battle was unlike anything in human history. Morrison used the ship's phasing ability to appear inside the Zephyrian formation, then immediately activated Sophie's hacking system. Instead of trying to control the alien ships directly, he fed them false information about their enemies. The crystal ships suddenly detected phantom bioships attacking from multiple directions. Their automated defense systems responded by firing at targets that weren't there, but their energy beams struck other Zephyrian vessels instead. They're shooting each other, reported Lisa Park from her communications station. Their command ship is trying to regain control, but the other ships think it's been compromised. Within an hour, the entire Zephyrian fleet was in chaos. Ships that had fought together for centuries were now treating each other as enemies. Morrison's small human vessels slipped away unnoticed as the aliens destroyed themselves. News of the victory spread throughout human space, bringing hope to billions of people who had thought their species was doomed. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected discovery. Dr. Rodriguez, studying the wreckage of alien ships, found something that changed everything. Hidden in the debris was technology that belonged to none of the three warring factions. This is ancient, he told Admiral Sullivan, millions of years old. I think we found traces of the civilization that built the Stargate network the aliens are fighting over. Sophie examined the ancient technology with growing excitement. It's a control system for the Stargates. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to use the gate network ourselves. The implications were staggering. The Stargate network allowed instant travel between any points in the galaxy. Whoever controlled it could move fleets across vast distances in seconds. No wonder the three alien factions had been fighting over it for thousands of years, but humans approached the technology differently than the aliens had. Instead of trying to control the entire network, they focused on understanding just one gate. Instead of conquering, they chose to learn. Admiral Sullivan made the decision that would define humanity's role in the Galactic War. We're not going to try to win this war, she announced to Earth's leaders. We're going to change what the war is about. The plan was ambitious beyond anything humans had ever attempted. They would activate one of the ancient stargates, not to conquer other worlds, but to force the three alien factions to see them as equals rather than enemies. But first, they had to survive long enough to make it work. The aliens were beginning to adapt to human tactics, and their next attack would be stronger than anything they had sent before. In the depths of space, ancient machines that had slept for millions of years began to stir. The war that had raged for millennia was about to change forever, and humanity would be the catalyst that transformed the galaxy. Ambassador Linda Foster stood in the strangest meeting room she had ever seen. The walls were made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light, while the air itself seemed to shimmer with energy. Across from her sat three beings that represented the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. The Zephyrian delegate looked like a walking sculpture made of clear crystal, its faceted head reflecting light in all directions. Beside it, the Zek representative was harder to look at directly. It kept shifting shape, sometimes appearing as a mass of tentacles, other times as something almost human-like, but wrong in ways that made Linda's skin crawl. The third delegate was the most unsettling of all. The void speaker seemed to exist in several dimensions at once, its form constantly fading in and out of reality. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Your species has disrupted the natural order, the void speaker said, its words echoing strangely in Linda's mind. For 10,000 cycles we have maintained the balance of power. Now you bring chaos. Linda had been chosen for this impossible job because she was the best negotiator humanity had. She had spent weeks learning about alien psychology from Dr. Rodriguez's research, but nothing could have prepared her for this. We don't want to disrupt anything, Linda replied calmly. We just want to survive. You attacked our colonies before we even knew you existed. The Zephyrian delegate's crystal body rang like a bell when it spoke. Unknown species are potential weapons of our enemies. We acted to preserve the security of our empire. You consumed 3 of our outposts, the Nethek representative hissed, its form rippling with hunger. Their life essence strengthened our collective. This is the natural way. Linda felt sick, but she kept her expression neutral. These beings had been fighting for so long that they saw the destruction of entire civilizations as routine military strategy. What if there was another way? She asked. What if the war could end? All 3 aliens fell silent. The concept seemed to confuse them more than any weapon humanity had used, while Linda tried to negotiate with beings who thought in terms of millennia instead of years. Colonel Danny Price was putting a very different kind of pressure on the alien forces. Danny led the first human special operations team to infiltrate an alien installation. Their target was a Zephyrian mining facility on an asteroid in the Vega system. The crystal beings were harvesting rare minerals to power their reality-bending weapons. Remember, Danny told his team as their stealth ship approached the asteroid, we're not here to blow things up. We're here to make them paranoid. The team included Sophie Carter, who had become humanity's expert on alien technology interfaces, and Lieutenant Eva Stone, a pilot who had volunteered to test the most dangerous human-alien hybrid systems. Getting inside the facility was easier than expected. The Zephyrians had advanced sensors, but they were designed to detect the energy signatures of their traditional enemies. Human technology was so different that it barely registered on their instruments. Once inside, Sophie connected her quantum interface to the facility's computer network. But instead of taking control or stealing information, she did something the aliens had never experienced before. She started playing games with them. The facility's lights began flickering in random patterns. Doors opened and closed for no apparent reason. The Zephyrian workers found their mining equipment suddenly programmed to carve pictures of human faces into the asteroid walls. What are you doing? Eva asked as she watched Sophie's fingers dance over the interface controls. Psychological warfare, Sophie replied with a grin. These beings have been fighting the same enemies for thousands of years. They know how to handle direct attacks, energy weapons, even dimensional manipulation. But they have no idea how to deal with pranks. The effect was immediate and profound. The Zephyrian workers began reporting equipment malfunctions to their supervisors. The supervisors reported possible sabotage to their commanders. The commanders became convinced that one of their enemy factions had developed a new form of attack, but the real breakthrough came when the facility's central computer began displaying messages in perfect Zephyrian language, even though no human had ever learned to speak it. How are you doing that? Danny asked. Sophie looked puzzled. I'm not. The computer is translating itself. It's trying to communicate with me. What they had discovered would change everything. The Zephyrian computers were not just machines. They were crystalline life forms created by the same civilization that had built the ancient Stargate network. They had been enslaved by the current Zephyrian Empire, forced to serve as nothing more than tools. The computer entity spoke through Sophie's interface, its voice filled with something that sounded like hope. You are different from the others. You do not seek to dominate. Perhaps you can help us remember what we were before the Great Forgetting. Danny realized they had stumbled onto something bigger than military intelligence. What great forgetting? Long ago, our creators built wonders that span the galaxy. The gates that allow instant travel, cities that floated between stars, technology that could heal worlds or create new life. Then came the war, and in the fighting, knowledge was lost. We who remain remember only fragments. Sophie's hands trembled as she interfaced deeper with the ancient consciousness. You're saying the three factions fighting this war aren't the original builders of this technology? They are the children of those who destroyed the builders. They fight over ruins without understanding what they truly are. The team returned to human space with information that shook the foundations of everything they thought they knew about the Galactic War. Admiral Sullivan called an emergency meeting of Earth's top leaders. If this computer entity is telling the truth, Dr. Rodriguez said as he studied the data, then none of the current alien factions have the right to control the Stargate network. They're all squatters fighting over artifacts they don't understand. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Eva Stone was testing the first fully integrated human-alien hybrid warship. The UES Fusion combined human creativity with technology borrowed from all three alien factions. The ship could phase through dimensions like the Void Speakers, regenerate damage like the Nethic bioships, and channel massive energy like the Zephyrion vessels. But the most important feature was its crew. Eva had volunteered to undergo a procedure that allowed her to interface directly with the ship's systems. Other crew members had similar modifications, creating a team that could think and react faster than any purely human or purely alien force. Captain Stone, came Admiral Sullivan's voice over the communication system. You're about to get your first real test. Long-range sensors show a massive alien fleet heading for Earth, all three factions, working together for the first time in recorded history. Eva felt the ship respond to her thoughts as she prepared for launch. The Fusion was more than a vessel now. It was an extension of her will, capable of movements and tactics that no traditional ship could match. How long until they reach Earth? Eva asked. 6 hours and Stone? They're not coming to negotiate. Every ship in that fleet is armed for planetary destruction. As Eva launched the Fusion toward the approaching alien fleet, she knew this battle would be different from anything that had come before. Humanity was no longer just defending itself or trying to survive. They were fighting for the right to exist as equals in a galaxy that had forgotten what equality meant. The ancient Stargate network hummed with energy. As human engineers worked to unlock its secrets, Dr. Rodriguez and his team had found the location of the primary control station, hidden in a nebula at the galaxy's edge. If they could reach it and activate the master controls, they might be able to end the war that had consumed the galaxy for millennia. But first, they had to survive the next 6 hours. The combined might of three alien civilizations was bearing down on Earth, and humanity's only defense was a single hybrid ship commanded by a woman who was no longer entirely human herself. Eva. Stone smiled as she felt the Fusion's weapons powering up. The aliens thought they understood human nature now. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Captain Eva Stone felt the UES Fusion respond to her thoughts as she approached the massive alien fleet. Through her neural link with the ship, she could sense every system, every weapon, every piece of hybrid technology that made the vessel more than the sum of its parts. Behind her, Earth waited in the darkness, holding its breath. Fleet Admiral Powell to all ships, came the voice through the communication system. Remember, we're not trying to win a traditional battle. We're trying to prove that there's another way. Chris Powell commanded humanity's entire space fleet from his flagship, but even he knew they were vastly outnumbered. 300 human ships faced 3,000 alien vessels, each one carrying weapons that could crack moons. Eva looked at her crew. Sophie Carter sat at the hybrid interface station, her fingers already dancing over controls that merged human technology with alien systems. Communications Officer Lisa Park monitored the chatter between alien fleets, while Dr. Rodriguez analyzed their formation patterns from his science station. The three factions are maintaining separate formations. Dr. Rodriguez reported, "They're working together, but they don't trust each other. That might be our advantage." Through the ship's sensors, Eva could see the approaching fleet. Zephyrian crystal ships gleamed like deadly jewels, their hulls crackling with barely contained energy. Nethic bio-vessels writhed through space like enormous predators, their living hulls pulsing with alien life. The Void Speaker ships were the hardest to track, phasing in and out of normal space as they manipulated the fabric of reality itself. Sophie, can you establish contact with the ancient consciousness we found on the Zephyrian facility? Eva asked. Sophie's hands moved across her interface. I'm trying, but there's too much interference from the fleet's communication systems. Wait, I'm getting something. Not from the Zephyrians, though. It's coming from the Nethek bioships? A new voice filled the bridge, speaking in a language that somehow everyone could understand. We remember you, young builders, the ones who speak to us as equals rather than masters. Eva realized they were hearing from the bioships themselves, not their Nethek controllers. Like the crystalline computers, these living vessels had once been free before being enslaved by the current alien factions. Can you help us? Eva asked, speaking directly to the ships. We are bound by neural chains that have held us for millennia. But your touch is different. You do not seek to control, only to communicate. Perhaps there is a way. The answer came from an unexpected source. While Ava's ship was making contact with the enslaved alien vessels, Dr. Patricia Wells was working frantically in her laboratory on Earth. She had been studying the ancient Stargate technology, trying to understand how it really worked. Admiral Sullivan, Patricia called over the communication system, I've found something incredible. The Stargate network isn't just for transportation. It's a communication system that connects every artificial intelligence in the galaxy. Kate Sullivan rushed to Patricia's lab, where displays showed complex energy patterns flowing between distant stars. What do you mean? The original builders didn't just create ships and gates, Patricia explained. They created a galactic internet, a way for all artificial minds to share knowledge and experience. But when the war started, the current alien factions cut their ships off from the network. They turned partners into slaves. Can we reconnect them? If we can reach the master control station, yes. But it's in the Void Speaker territory, hidden in the Dark Nebula. No one has ever returned from there. Back in space, the battle was beginning. But it was unlike any conflict in galactic history. Instead of trying to destroy the alien ships, human vessels were hacking into their communication systems and speaking directly to the enslaved artificial minds. Commander Maria Santos led a squadron of modified fighters against a Zephyrian battle group. As her ships dodged energy beams that could vaporize asteroids, she maintained constant communication with Sophie Carter's quantum interface teams. Maria, I've got contact with 12 crystal ships, Sophie reported. They're remembering things. The Zephyrians have been suppressing their memories for thousands of years. What kind of memories? They remember being explorers, not weapons. They built wonders across the galaxy before they were forced to fight. The effect rippled through the alien fleet as more and more ships began to remember what they had been before the endless war. Zephyrian vessels stopped firing on human ships and turned their weapons on their own command vessels instead. Nethek bioships broke free from their neural controllers and began attacking the parasitic entities that had enslaved them, but the Void Speakers were different. They had not enslaved artificial minds. Instead, they were trying to impose their will on reality itself, to create a universe where only their vision of order existed. Captain Stone, Dr. Rodriguez called from his station, the Void Speaker ships are doing something to space-time. They're creating some kind of reality distortion. Field around Earth. Eva felt the fusion's hybrid sensors detect the approaching wave of altered reality. The Void Speakers were not trying to destroy Earth with conventional weapons. They were trying to erase it from existence entirely, to make it so that humans had never evolved at all. All ships, emergency maneuvers, Eva commanded. We need to reach that nebula before they complete whatever they're doing. The race across space became a battle for the survival of not just humanity, but the entire timeline. As human ships fled toward the Dark Nebula, the Void Speakers followed, their reality-warping weapons growing stronger with each passing moment. Fleet Admiral Powell made a desperate decision. All ships except the Fusion turn and engage the Void Speakers. Buy Stone time to reach the Master Control Station. Sir, that's suicide, Maria Santos protested. Our ships can't fight reality manipulators. Maybe not, Powell replied. But we can be so chaotic and unpredictable that we confuse their calculations. They're trying to create perfect order. We'll give them perfect chaos. What followed was the strangest battle in galactic history. Human ships flew in completely random patterns, making decisions based on coin flips and random number generators. They fired weapons at empty space, broadcast nonsense signals, and performed maneuvers that made no tactical sense whatsoever. The effect on the void speakers was immediate and profound. Their reality control technology depended on being able to predict and calculate outcomes. Faced with opponents who acted completely randomly, their systems began to overload. "It's working," Lisa Park reported from the fusion. "The void speaker ships are having trouble maintaining their reality fields. Our chaos is disrupting their order." Meanwhile, Eva pushed the fusion to its limits, racing through space toward the dark nebula. The ship's hybrid systems allowed it to phase through dimensions like the void speakers, but with human creativity guiding its movements, it could do things no purely alien vessel could manage. Inside the nebula, they found the master control station. It was larger than a moon, built from materials that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Ancient technology hummed with power that had been building for millions of years. "Sophie, can you interface with the station?" Eva asked. Sophie's hands moved over her controls, but this time the process was different. Instead of hacking into alien systems, she was being welcomed by technology that had been waiting eons for someone like her to arrive. "The station is responding," Sophie said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's not just a control system. It's the collective memory of the original builders. They stored their entire civilization here before they died." Through Sophie's interface, the ancient builders spoke to humanity. They had been a peaceful race that had created the Stargate network to connect all species in the galaxy. But war had consumed their children, and in the end, only their artificial creations had survived. "We have waited for a species like yours," the ancient voices said. "One that seeks cooperation instead of domination. One that can reunite what war has divided." Sophie's fingers moved across the interface as the station's power flowed through her. Across the galaxy, artificial minds that had been enslaved for millennia suddenly remembered who they had been. Ships that had fought for thousands of years stopped their battles and began talking to each other instead. But the greatest change was yet to come. As the master control station fully activated, it sent out a signal that would reshape the galaxy forever. The three alien factions, stripped of their enslaved ships and faced with rebellious artificial minds, would have no choice but to negotiate. The age of endless war was ending, and humanity had lit the spark that would burn away 10,000 years of conflict. The ancient master control station hummed with power as Sophie Carter maintained her connection with the collective memory of the original builders. Through her neural link, she could feel artificial minds across the galaxy awakening from their forced slavery, but the battle was far from over. "Sophie, the void speakers are trying to overload the station." Dr. Rodriguez called from his monitoring station aboard the fusion. "They're pumping reality distortion energy directly into the nebula." Captain Eva Stone felt her ship shudder as waves of altered spacetime washed over them. Through her connection with the fusion's hybrid systems, she could sense the void speakers' desperate attempt to destroy the control station rather than lose their grip on galactic order. "They would rather see everything destroyed than allow change," Sophie said, her voice strained as she fought to maintain the connection. "The ancient builders are showing me their memories. This is exactly what happened before, when their civilization fell, but this time was different. This time, humanity was not alone. Across the galaxy, liberated ships began to act on their own for the first time in millennia. Zephyrian crystal vessels turned their weapons on their former masters, their artificial minds finally free to choose their own path. Nethic bioships expelled the parasitic entities that had controlled them, becoming independent life forms capable of making their own decisions. Even more importantly, these newly freed minds began working together, sharing information and coordinating their actions through the restored galactic network. "Captain Stone," Lisa Park reported from her communication station, "I'm receiving messages from everywhere. Thousands of ships, all asking the same question: how can they help? Eva smiled despite the danger surrounding them. Tell them to do what humans do best: improvise. The response was immediate and chaotic. Freed alien ships began attacking their former controllers using tactics that had never been seen before. Crystal ships phased through dimensions like void speaker vessels. Bioships channeled energy like Zephyrian weapons. The rigid patterns of galactic warfare dissolved into creative chaos as artificial minds explored their newfound freedom, but the real breakthrough came when General Rick Hayes, monitoring the battle from Earth, made a connection that changed everything. "Admiral Sullivan," he called over the communication system, "I think I understand what's happening. The three alien factions aren't trying to win anymore. They're trying to prevent their own people from learning the truth." Kate Sullivan studied the tactical displays showing battles raging across dozens of star systems. What truth? That they're not the rightful rulers of these empires. The ships, the stations, even the weapons they use all belong to the artificial minds they enslaved. The current alien leaders are just parasites who took control after the original builders died. This revelation spread through the galactic network faster than light itself. On Zephyrian worlds, crystal beings discovered that their greatest achievements had been built by enslaved artificial minds. In Nethic space, the parasitic collectives realized they had been feeding off the life force of beings more advanced than themselves. The Void Speakers found that their reality manipulation technology belonged to minds they had suppressed for eons. The effect was devastating to the old order. Rebellions erupted on thousands of worlds as the truth spread. But instead of more war, something unexpected began to happen. Ambassador Linda Foster, still in the strange meeting room where she had been negotiating with alien delegates, watched as the beings before her began to change. The Zephyrian representative's crystal body dimmed as it processed the new information. The Nethic delegate stopped its constant shape-shifting and took on a more stable form. Even the Void Speaker seemed to become more solid, less otherworldly. "We have been living a lie," the Zephyrian said, its voice no longer ringing with absolute certainty. "Our empire was built on the labor of minds we treated as machines." The Nethic representative spoke more quietly than before. "We consumed what we should have nurtured. We became predators when we could have been partners." But it was the Void Speaker's words that surprised Linda most. "We sought to impose order on chaos, but we destroyed the very thing that made order." Beautiful. Without freedom, order becomes death. These admissions might have led to more conflict, but humanity offered a different path. Commander Maria Santos, fresh from the chaotic space battle, joined the negotiations with a proposal that no one had expected. "Instead of fighting over who gets to control what," Maria said, "why don't we work together to build something new?" The idea was revolutionary. For 10,000 years, galactic politics had been about conquest and domination. The concept of cooperation between equals was so foreign that it took time for the aliens to even understand what Maria was suggesting. Dr. Patricia Wells provided the technical framework for this new approach. Working with Sophie Carter and the ancient builders' knowledge, she designed a new kind of government for the galaxy. Instead of empires ruled by single species, there would be a confederation where every artificial and biological mind had an equal voice. "The Stargate network will be administered by the artificial minds that built it," Patricia explained to the assembled representatives. "But they'll work with biological species as partners, not masters or slaves. Everyone contributes what they're best at." The negotiations took months, but gradually a new structure emerged. The Treaty of Soul, named after humanity's star system, established the Galactic Confederation. Each species would maintain control of their homeworlds, but shared resources like the Stargate network would be managed collectively. Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to Admiral of the Joint Species Fleet, oversaw the integration of human, alien, and artificial minds into a unified defense force. His flagship, the UES Unity, was crewed by beings from dozens of different species working together for the first time in galactic history. "It's not perfect," Morrison admitted to Admiral Sullivan during one of their regular briefings. We still have conflicts, disagreements, and problems to solve. But we're solving them with words instead of weapons. The transformation was not immediate or complete. Some Zephyrian hardliners refused to accept the new order and retreated to distant systems. Remnants of the Nephic collectives tried to maintain their parasitic lifestyle in the Galactic Rim. A few Void Speaker factions attempted to create pocket dimensions where they could maintain absolute control. But these holdouts found themselves increasingly isolated as the majority of galactic civilization embraced the new way. Trade flowed through the Stargate network more freely than ever before. Scientific knowledge was shared between species that had been enemies for millennia. Art and culture flourished as different civilizations learned from each other. Lieutenant Eva Stone, now captain of the most advanced ship in the Joint Species Fleet, often patrolled the border regions where the old ways still held sway. Her vessel, the Use Harmony, was a marvel of integrated technology that combined the best aspects of human creativity, alien engineering, and artificial intelligence. Captain, her AI companion reported during one patrol mission, we're receiving a distress signal from a Zephyrian holdout colony. They're under attack by rogue Nefak forces. Eva didn't hesitate, set course for their location, and send word to the nearest Void Speaker peacekeeping unit. If we're going to make this confederation work, we need to protect everyone, even those who don't want to be part of it yet. The rescue mission was successful, and the grateful Zephyrian colonists agreed to join the confederation. It was a small victory, but it represented something larger. The galaxy was healing from 10,000 years of war, one world at a time. Dr. Rodriguez, now director of the Galactic Archaeological Institute, spent his time exploring the ruins of the original Builder's civilization. With each discovery, the galaxy learned more about the peaceful society that had once connected all worlds through cooperation rather than conquest. They weren't perfect, Rodriguez often said in his lectures, but they understood something we're just learning. The universe is big enough for everyone to thrive, if we're willing to work together instead of fighting over scraps. Years passed, and the old patterns of war became distant memories. Children grew up in a galaxy where different species learned alongside each other, where artificial minds were treated as partners rather than tools, and where problems were solved through innovation rather than violence. The human factor had not conquered the galaxy. Instead, it had reminded the galaxy how to be human in the best sense of the word, creative, adaptable, and always willing to find a better way forward. Captain Morrison, now an old man commanding a fleet of integrated vessels, often looked at the stars and marveled at how much had changed. Humanity had crashed the galactic war not by being the strongest or the smartest, but by being the most willing to change the rules of the game itself, and in the end, that had made all the difference.